and all the rules are different every time.
And then we're just going to ask that you, even though it's not a huge, you say we use the speaker, the mics because of the fact that, the air conditioning and sometimes other noises and stuff. So I'm going to remind myself, hello. So we're going to go ahead and go. Thank everybody on live stream for holding with us. It's windy and cold, and the seaport can be sometimes challenging to get to.
But beautiful.
And we had time change today as well. So a lot of factors going on. It's a beautiful area, and so I want to welcome you. I'm Jeff, the owner of East End Books here in Boston, and also our main Wellington store in Provincetown, East End Books, P-Town. We're really happy that you are here. You probably, in the summer, we were lucky enough to have Stephanie in Provincetown for her phenomenal book, Super Gay Poems, which I was glad to be at the regional book conference with Stephanie, where Stephanie won the top book.
Oh, yeah.
Was that exciting? That was fantastic. She won that award. It's a phenomenal book that I think is going to be taught in classes, and people are going to be looking at that forever. If you've ever seen Stephanie, you know that in addition to being brilliant at so many things, she's also an amazing, performance artist. Aww. And if you go to our YouTube channel, you can see the Stephanie Burt Super Gay Poems recording, and it was phenomenal. And she read a number of poems, but in particular, a lot of people still comment Stephanie about, and I still watched it multiple times. When you turn to talking to all of us about queer joy and read Chen Chen's
that's a thing.
poem, which was amazing, just incredible.
Yeah, well, that's right there in Super Gay Poems. If you want to.
Super Gay Poems.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to just get the regular clock back on this phone so that I don't exceed my welcome.
Well, I'll continue in the intro while you're working on that. But yeah, I don't know if Nick, I think these probably are unsigned Super Gay Poems, right?
They're unsigned.
Here. We sold out of all the signed copies, but we can get some signed copies.
I'll sign those
now. But anyway, I wanted to say upcoming announcements. I'm sorry, you've heard this already, but for the people in the recording, Sunday, December 7th. I'm thrilled to co-chair a special event for Theater Offensive at the Quinn with Christy Cashman, the author of The Truth About Horses, which is being made to a movie with James Seymour. And this is an event that will benefit Theater Offensive. Go to our website on December 7th. You can see details about it. We hope you'll come. There'll be amazing food, libations, and performances at the Quinn. Next event here in Boston, in December, we have Bob Edwards, filmmaker Bob Edwards, which is his phenomenal new book, Resisting the Right. Very important book for our times. And then it's not on the website yet, but we just today got confirmed January 31st, William Mann with his phenomenal new book, which will be out right around then, called Black Dahlia, which already got optioned for a movie. His last big book was Bogey and Bacall, which was really phenomenal. So if you're around, check our website for the other events that are happening. There'll be a lot going on. If you are watching this later, this recording, Stephanie's poor hand will get tired signing all the store stock, but we will have signed copies until they run out. If you want a signed copy on our website in the memo section, just ask for one. And since Stephanie is at Harvard, I feel like I'd probably run over an Uber with a box of books to get more signed when we run out.
Oh, just come here.
Yeah,
I want an excuse to come see this amazing space.
Even better.
If you're watching online and you're, driving or if you're watching online or you are, driving or transit distance, do check out the East End Books Boston Seaport location. It's so beautiful. And it's across from the ICA, right? Is that the ICA?
Right there.
All right.
Yeah.
So if you've been to the ICA, you know where this is.
Well, I'm going to just say one more thing and then turn it over to this amazing person. If you, again, are not here in person and you're like, darn, I missed Stephanie again, if you're going to be in Florida in April, Word of South Book and Music Festival, Stephanie is going to be one of the featured, it hasn't been formally announced, but I can say.
You literally heard it here first, unless you're watching this at some point later, in which case you heard it here.
And it's going to be amazing. They get like 15 to 20,000 people over the course of 4 days. It's music and books.
Yeah.
And we had the organizer, Mark Mushin, who had a new book out the same weekend in P-Town as Stephanie's book. So
And we met.
Yeah. So I'm so psyched that you're going to be in Tallahassee, Florida, for this event. So if you're going to be in Florida at all, you want to go to this event in April. It's really a phenomenal time. And yes, it's Florida, but Tallahassee, I spent many years down there.
That's right.
Is largely it's majority Democrat. So we're surrounded by the infidels, as I say. But even though it's a seat of government and it's a horrible government in Florida, Tallahassee, the people there are Democrats and independents. So anyway,
Yeah.
I hope you'll consider going there. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. The trees are incredible there in Tallahassee. So anyway, well, Stephanie Burt. Stephanie is the Donald P. and Katherine B. Loker Professor of English at Harvard University. Her work appears in the New York Times, Book Review, The New Yorker, London Review of Books, and many others. Her other books of poetry and literary criticism, 14 in all, include We Are Mermaids, Advice from the Lights, and Don't Read Poetry, a book about how to read poems, and of course, the award-winning Super Gay Poems,
That's right.
which just won for NEBA, the Regional Book Association, top award of poetry, and naturally, why we're here tonight, Taylor's version. So without further ado, I give you Stephanie Burt.
Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody making this bookstore happen and making this bookstore by Locate. Because if you're ever in Provincetown, you got to see the original. It's one of my favorite places. And thank you. I'm just. If you are someone who likes standing up, keep standing. If you want to sit down, there are spaces.
I'm just watching the door.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's fine. Am I audible? Am I visible in the back? Okay. It's like, I feel like I should sort of sit on some higher surface to make it easier for me to see you, but we're good. So thank you for coming out here for Taylor. It's been quite a change for me because I was for so long used to writing about poets who were either no longer with us or had 3,000 fans or possibly 30 fans, and if I could get that to 300, I'd feel like I was doing what I was put on earth to do. And of course Taylor has, I don't even know how you count, 30 million, 300 million, like a lot of people, right? Football stadiums after football stadiums, and including some where they kick a round ball and don't wear helmets. So it's been really fun taking this book on the road and sharing what started really as just me enjoying her music in the early 20-teens when I heard You Belong With Me in CVS while I was buying toothpaste or something. I was in a CVS and I was listening to, I'm really not listening to the pop music that plays on a loop at CVS, and heard You Belong With Me, and I was like, this is different. Who wrote this? And I went home and I found out who wrote it. And then I started listening and I kind of never stopped. And by 1989, I was ready to say, yeah, I'm a Swiftie. And by the time Folklore dropped, I was begging editors to let me write about her. And that was not how the book happened. How the book happened was that I was on holiday in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, with my nesting partner, and we went to one of these cute stores they have in Portsmouth that just sort of sells homemade tote bags and shirts and purses and, bath mats. And she correctly convinced me to purchase a tote bag that had Taylor on it because she knew that I was a Swiftie. And it was the Lover iconography, so the kind of long, flowy, kind of shoulder-length hair, and the trans flag in the background, which she must have known was a trans flag. And I was very happy that Jesse convinced me to purchase it and use it, and I was even happier when I started taking my laptop to class that fall. This is fall of 23, and my undergraduate students at Harvard who were taking another English class saw, therefore, that I was a Swiftie. And a couple of them said, well, we want to write about Taylor. Will you advise an independent study for one or two of us in the spring? And I said, well, I don't really do independent studies anymore for pedagogical reasons, which if you're interested, I'll tell you. But if you can get a couple of your friends to show an interest, I'll just list a seminar. So we listed a class called Taylor Swift and Her World, where we write about and listen to Taylor and read books she read and study her career and her songwriting and think about songwriting as an art form and read Willa Cather and Alexander Pope and some other older writers and some music critics. And I really thought that we were going to have like 12 people and a table and just, meet in a library and just talk about what Swifties know and read Willa Cather. And we ended up with 200 people. So that was fun. If you ask, at one point I thought we were going to have 300, but we had 200. And we had 11 TFs and a music recital hall and a grand piano, and the Today Show showed up, and news reporters showed up from Ecuador and Singapore and Colombia and Spain and Norway, and RTE, which is the Irish NPR, and all kinds of places, and TMZ, which was kind of the beginning of it. So that was fun, and it turned into a book. And I was very lucky because I really got to write the book that I wanted to write, which was about why the songs have stayed so compelling for so long, and how to think about her, as a celebrity, as a performer, as a human, but first and last, as what she says she is first and last, which is a songwriter. How have the songs stayed so good for so long, when very few other people stay that good and that interesting and that popular for so long, and even fewer when you're looking at solo artists who are not already famous for something else, like being movie actors, right? She has been in movies, but that's not her bag. We can talk about Cats if you want. There's a lot to say. But how did that happen? Why are the songs so good? And I came up with sort of 3 ways to answer that extend throughout her eras up to TS11, up to Tortured Poets. And we can talk about Life of a Showgirl if you want. I'm happy to take questions. I do think it's good. It's not her best. I don't think anyone thinks it's her best. I don't think she thinks it's her best. But I think there's great stuff on it. And we can address that. But so I try to make an argument about why each album, each era is different, what it's trying to do differently, whether it works, how the standout songs work. But throughout all of the eras, it seemed to me there are 3 things going on that make her so good. One of them is that you have to look at the songs as songs. You can't just look at the words. She's not a poet or a good poet any more than she's a screenwriter or a novelist. If you want to look at how songs become important to people, you have to look at songs as their own art form. How does the melody fit the words? How do both of those things fit the vocal capacities of the singer? How do all of those things fit the arrangement? Is there a banjo? Where is there a banjo? Does the banjo go away? Is there a drop the way there is in dance music? Is there a click track? Is there a live drummer? Why? Is it in 12/8? Why? If it's in 5/4, why on earth is it in 5/4? There are answers. If it's in 7/4 time and then switches to 4/4 time halfway through, anybody know what song does that? It's okay. I will tell you. But why did she do that? There are reasons. Has anyone ever done that in a hip hop song before? And the answer is yes. Once it was the Beatles with All You Need Is Love, but no one's done it since then. You have to look at the music. And the second answer is that through all her eras, she's managed to be both aspirational and relatable. Almost everyone who's got a body of work that people love, that is pop songs, is either in some way aspirational. We want to be like them. We want to be awesome like them. Or relatable. We're like, oh my God, I've been there. You're writing down my life. There are songwriters who can do that at the same time every so often. There are songwriters who do one of those things and then another later. The David Bowie of Ziggy Stardust is this man who fell to earth, this incredible rock star who is tragic but really not living our lives. And then David Bowie, if you know the Bowie catalog, same guy wrote Life on Mars, which is one of the most inviting, relatable tearjerker songs I know, but he didn't do it at the same time. Taylor, almost uniquely among people with this kind of catalog, writes songs that a lot of us find both aspirational, we want to be like her, we like imagining that we're like her, and relatable, we're like, oh my god, I've been there. And she keeps doing that as she changes styles. That's really, really hard. And so I think about how she does that through the different eras and styles. And then the third thing that I sort of discovered about all her eras, about what she keeps doing, matches the way she describes herself in her songs, and matches the way that they sound, and matches how she describes herself when she just does interviews or like lives her life or talks to people, which is that she is, as she says in Mirrorball, she's never been a natural. All she does is try, try, try. She is a work person, as she also says. She is, as she says in yet another song, a pathological people pleaser who recognizes this as a problem, but also as one of the sources of her success. She just keeps working. She can't stop working. She has what she thinks of as an eldest daughter problem or powers or origin story. Other people, my friend who taught with me, MJ, who's very, very smart Swiftie, says that's not eldest daughter syndrome, that's gifted child syndrome. So I feel like I need to cite MJ here saying that Taylor is wrong. But whatever you call it, she has that. She wants A's in everything. She wants everyone to like her. She's not going to be a rebel or a rule breaker, usually. She is not going to shock people and tell them, I don't care what you think, normally. And when she does say, I don't care what you think, I'm going to live my own life, it is a big deal. It is her playing against type. And she honestly reverts to type sooner or later, which is one of the great stories of tortured poets. Right? The same person who does, but daddy, I love him, who says growing up precocious sometimes means not growing up at all, which is my favorite line in all of Taylor, which tells you more about me. Like 5 tracks later becomes the person who does I Can Do It With a Broken Heart. She's still going to get out there and perform, and it's work, and she wants you to know that it's work. And that is part of her success as well. Not just that that's how she lives and writes, but that is part of the persona in that song, the songs. It's part of why so many of us see ourselves in her, even now when her life does not resemble any of ours. So that's sort of the book in general, and I hope I have opened it up to you rather than saying, here's the AI summary, now go home. Please don't go home, please stick around. I'm going to read a little bit of it for you or to you, and then we'll just take questions. And it's got, you can probably guess how many chapters it has. How many chapters?
13.
Of course it has 13 chapters. I felt very lucky because there were 11 eras, 11 albums at the time that this went to press. So I could do an intro, which is called Ready For It, and then an Eras Tour outro, which is about the meaning and effect and stagecraft of the Eras Tour and the songs, like I Can Do It With a Broken Heart, that changed live. And about, what's coming next. I hope I guessed right. I don't know. But in between those intro and outro chapters, there are 11, one on each album. And each one's got a different argument about that album. So I guess at this point, are you okay? You're just kind of holding the camera
I'm
up.
good, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm about to stand up.
That's fine. I can get up.
So I am, in different ways, happy with the arguments that I made with the help of MJ and Laura, my editor, and my readers and everybody. Like all books worth reading, this was a group effort. But I'm just going to ask you, what's your era? Tortured Poets? Okay, sure. I'm going to read you a bit from the Tortured Poets chapter. And I'll read for, 10 minutes, and then we'll Q&A?
Sure.
Seem good? Yeah. Yeah, bookstores hate it when you read long, because it means there's less time to sell books.
Oh, wow.
And of course, we want you to go home with a book, if you can. And of course, I will sign them.
But I did do one thing to
What'd you do?
hope that people will stay later. We've got that food from Fromagerie Catering back there.
Ooh. Okay.
Anyway.
Okay. I keep thinking it's formagerie, like they do magic with food, or
I don't,
formenagerie.
I'm terrible with
Yeah.
pronunciation, so I'm sure I'm wrong.
No, I'm sure you're right. I didn't speak French. I wish I spoke French. Anyway, fromagerie. Okay, tortured poets. Taylor Swift isn't done making music. Nothing about the Tortured Poets department suggests a farewell or even a brief vacation. Is there water? Was water happening? Just don't want to start coughing at you. Sorry. The album dropped not far from the middle of a 2-year, 5-continent global phenomenon of a tour. It's an album about, thank you, how she's managed to keep working, being herself through calms and storms, sharp peaks and precipitous lows, about how she's kept turning her emotional tumult, her need to be seen, and her sense of vocation into song. It's her longest album by far and her most ambitious in its lyrics, looking back constantly at her prior writings and at songs, books, and poems other writers have created. Those songs and those words and the topics they share make the album, whether or not Swift meant it that way, an occasion to see the power she's exercised, and to see why a celebrity who has seemed to live on top of the world has remained both emotionally available and emotionally vulnerable. As with all of her albums, it means more if you know about her life when she wrote it. Sometime in early 2023, I'm just going to stand up. Sometime in early 2023, around the time that Eras tour began, Swift split up with her boyfriend of 6 years, Joe Alwyn, a split that any listener could have seen coming in the slow heartbeats of You're Losing Me, written in late 21, released in May 23. At least one song on TTPD, So Long London, certainly speaks to the end of Taylor and Joe. Most of the rest of the songs on Disc 1, and several, it's hard to say how many, on Disc 2, speak to Swift's tumultuous romance with Maddie Healy, the self-dramatizing, substance-abusing, absurdly charismatic frontman for the English indie synth-pop band in 1975. Swift and Healy first met in Los Angeles back in 2014. He told an Australian radio show then that he wouldn't mind dating her, then denied rumors that had them romantically linked. Healy and Swift worked together on at least one unreleased track recorded for Midnights. In January 2023, she premiered Antihero at a 1975 concert. In May, the couple themselves were photographed together. They took long flights to attend each other's concerts and declared their love, sotto voce, on stage. By July 23, it was over. In April 24, TTPD dropped. Am I going the right pace? Are we good to follow? Okay. If the double album, all 31 songs, has a thesis, here it is. Taylor, like many of us, has long tried and hoped to be a good girl, to gain and keep her approval, our approval, to find her success by working hard. That trying doesn't just come from outside, it's part of her nature, it's who she is. At the same time, she hopes and wants and has long wanted to fall head over heels for a rebel, a baddie, a hot, impulsive, energetic partner who can take her out of her own planned-out, deliberate life. Not for the first time with Healy, she did it. She found him, but she couldn't, shouldn't, wouldn't keep him. She can't have both hopes fulfilled, or not for long. Maybe nobody can. Maybe nobody should give up so much for a romantic partner, no matter how exciting, as Taylor once again felt tempted to do. Maybe we too have felt vexed, excited, pulled in both directions by the contradictory desires and angers that the Tortured Poets department follows. And maybe we too can sort them out for ourselves. So that's the intro to the TTPD part. And maybe if you've got a song you want to hear about, we can see if the song is in there on that album or on any other except Showgirl. And if not, we can just go to straight up Q&A. Okay, I'm back.
Black Dog.
Black Dog. Okay, I think we're in there. Okay, yeah. So the Black Dog is one of the songs on TTPD where she's really showing you that she's a better writer than Matt. And it come out of that, because they don't discuss all the songs in order. I don't think that's what you need to do. And no, I do not discuss every single song. Don't worry. I do talk about some of the ones I don't like. This is, when they started writing this, people were like, is it just going to be I love everything Taylor does? No. I'm really into most of the things Taylor does, otherwise I wouldn't have written the book. But I do talk about what I think doesn't work. But I do think most of TTPD works. So there's a couple of songs, especially on disc 2, where she's just demonstrating that she's a better writer than Mag. And one of them, which I talk about, is Chloe or Sam or Sophia or Marcus. And I kind of put that next to the Black Dog. And the Black Dog plays with a lot of Easter eggs and a lot of allusions to classic literature and to London life, even as it looks back on Swift's journey with another art monster of a man. A real pub named the Black Dog in central London, as some of you know, became a pilgrimage site for Swifties. It was just kind of a regular central London pub, and then suddenly there were all these people there with friendship bracelets. You could see in summer 2024, like all of the tourism. Healy and Swift might have hung out there. Black dogs in literature and popular culture often represent depression, as in Taming the Black Dog, a dog guide to overcoming depression by Bev Eisbet, or Killing the Black Dog, a memoir of depression by the Australian poet Les Murray. Popularized by Winston Churchill, of all people, with help from a mistranslation of the Latin poet Horace. The phrase black dog for chronic depression persists in modern British English and Australian English. But the man in the song, The Black Dog, seems less depressed than fickle and shallow. He put her through hazing for what she calls a cruel fraternity. Once admired her rain-soaked body, smoked constantly, rejected her harshly, dates younger women now and appreciates, though younger women will not, a pop-punk band called The Starting Line, whose 2002 hit The Best of Me, the 1975 had covered. In other words, the man in the Black Dog corresponds to the album's Healy-like figure, even though the song itself tracks the end of something that felt like it could be, should be, would be a long-term thing. If Swift has read Horace, or hangs out with people who have, which she certainly has, she might know that the same Horace poem, Satire's Book 2, Poem 7, that gave us the mistranslation Black Dog for Atra, which is properly a black companion or black one, also excoriates a former friend's untreated compulsions. This is Horace in English. You cannot spend an hour on your own. You flee your life's cares with wine or sleep, but you fail. The black dog follows you. The black one, the black other, follows you. Leaving her ex in the Black Dog, with his black dog, Swift's swelling conclusion to that song shows how it feels to leave someone you once loved, someone who turned out monstrously selfish behind. And then, kind of switch subject a little. I hope that fits your sense of that song. I remember the first few months it was out, there was real debate over whether it was a Maddie song or a Joe song. But it's so clearly a Maddie song. Wait, do I see disagreement? Okay. Now, do you think it's a Joe song? No? Okay. Sorry, my glasses are off, so I can see the book, but I can't. Right, anyway. One more song or just Q&A? Yeah.
I was just gonna ask for call it what you want, if you have it in there.
Oh yeah, I think I don't sort of go on about that. Let's find out. It's a great one.
I was just curious also because of the video, I feel like, of her playing that acoustically to Joe Alwyn. I feel like it's gone really viral,
Ooh.
interestingly.
There are so many videos, honestly. I do discuss a bunch of videos, but I don't try to be encyclopedic about them. And I do say a little bit about it. So, the rep chapter was the one that I worked the most on. is there was really the most controversy around that and the most work to do. And that was even more true than it otherwise had been, because I think to talk about rap, you have to talk about race. That is the place for talking about Taylor's relationship to her own whiteness. And that is the album where she starts thinking about it with assistance from and collaboration with black artists. And I see rap as a really successful way for her to think about the whiteness of her previous incarnations. That's not especially there for Call It What You Want, though. I think that's about other stuff. And I do talk about it, and I talk about it as one of the songs about how she's finding refuge in that new relationship that she's got with Joe at the time. One of the songs that really leads up to the genre switch of New Year's Day. And should I read that bit? A couple paragraphs? We're here. So some of you know that after Rap, when Lover dropped, there was a book that you could buy or look at online called The Lover Diaries, which were her actual selected entries from her actual diaries, which showed you how much she enjoyed the hard work of becoming a star and how catastrophic her post-1989 cancellation felt, and how much people need to drink water. Okay. Thank you, yeah. The last entry, oh no, it dripped water.
Uh-oh.
Am I doomed? Do I have to buy this?
No.
Okay. The last entry in the Lover Diaries bears the date January 3rd, 2017, when Swift would have been writing or recording Reputation. Now I'm essentially based in London, Swift wrote, in a thick and unfamiliar black pen, trying to protect us from the nasty world that just wants to ruin things. By us, she meant herself and Joe. We have been together and no one has found out for 3 months now. I want it to stay that way because I don't want anything about this to change. Her privacy seems valuable there, not just because it protected Alwyn from reputational damage, but because it gave Swift room to change. Kathleen Hanna of Bikini Kill, whose Riot Girl powers we saw in an earlier chapter, wrote that her first post-college boyfriend gave her, Kathleen Hanna, quote, a certain privacy, permission to not be entirely consumed by my love for him. To keep writing and making things as a way for us to share our interests with each other rather than evaporate ourselves. That's the kind of romance that Swift, by the end of Rep, tells us she's found, not because he owns her, but because he really knows her. Right, yeah, thank you. And therefore gives her sonic, emotional, and creative space. I really think that's one of the things that kept them together, that he was able to give her space for a while. We learn as much in another head-spinningly multi-generic love song, Call It What You Want, where, as on much of the rest of the album, non-rock and non-contemporary sounds come together for a post-apocalyptic reconstruction. The bass line climbs down and then back up, step by step, to match her confidence as Swift intones in one of her strongest bridges, I want to wear his initial on a chain round my neck. Not because he owns me, because he really knows me. She's not looking for white knights or white horses either. You don't need to save me, but would you run away with me? I love that bit. The answer turns out to be no, because the new couple expect responsibilities to their remaining friends and to the future that they expect to build where they are. And that's how we get to New Year's Day. Okay, straight up Q&A time for a bit. We go a little past 7? 7:10?
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Okay.
Q&A.
Do we have questions? All right. I see you.
Which album, like,
I see you here.
was hardest to write about, or you had like the least to say, or like compared to the other albums?
Oh, I love that question. Okay, so the album that I felt like I worked the hardest on, where the chapter went through the most drafts, was absolutely Rep. Because if you're a white girl writing about a white artist for a white editor, and you're writing about race and white supremacy and racial stereotypes and anti-blackness in America. It's probably a good idea because the more white people talk about race and white supremacy and anti-blackness, the more black people and people who are neither white nor black, because of course many people are not, the more people of color of all kinds can just do something else instead of having to explain race and racism to white people. Like, seriously, white critics in particular need to think about race. White people need to talk to white people about white supremacy. It shouldn't fall on other writers. So I was really energized writing it, but I tried really hard to get it right. And I didn't. It went through the most drafts for good reason. And it changed my mind about some things as I was working on it, which is a sign that you're really, I don't know, thinking, getting help. So that was the hardest to write, but I'm really happy with it. It wasn't like, oh my God, what do I have to say? Yeah. Fortunately, I had a lot to say about all the albums. I found it, I think, easier to write about the ones where I pretty much love the whole thing start to finish, which is Red and the Pandemic albums, and I'm very close to feeling that way about Midnights and TTPD. I think Fearless because the second half is not as good as the first half. Like, the first half of Fearless is perfect. Those are the songs that made her Taylor Swift. And I discovered it was a great sort of feeling, oh, I don't have to write about the songs that seem weaker. There's so much to say about Fearless and about her first headlining tour and about her emergence. So I'm very happy with that chapter. But it had a bit of a block. And then writing about Debut and Lover was a different kind of challenge because those two albums have some of my favorite songs from her entire career on them. But they're also, for very different reasons, uneven. And I felt like with those two, I couldn't have the arc of the chapter be, this record is the best thing ever and here's why. It was, this record is kind of a mixed bag, and in the bag are some of the best things ever and here's why. So that was a challenge, but like, it was fun. I mean, the best things on Lover are so good, right? Lover has Miss Americana and the Heartbreak Prince on it, and it has Paper Rings, which is the only really aesthetically successful genuine love song on that album. And it has Cornelia Street, which tells you they're going to break up even if they don't know it. And it has The Archer, which tells you she's a mess. So Lover is great, but it's also a mess. I hope that's a satisfying answer. In the back, in the hat. Wait, there's space for people. You need to wait for the mic.
Sorry. Here I come.
I'm just wondering how, with all this admiration you have for her and her writing, how you kind of sit with the parts of her that may be less, may be disappointing. Her commercialism, her selling, 30 variants of the album, her lack of speaking up for stuff. As a fan myself, I adore her, and yet I'm also very disappointed in her. And I'm just wondering what your experience of that is.
So that's a good question. I get it a lot. I think about it regularly, and I've been thinking about it, since before I started writing about her. And I think it's got to have a couple of answers. The answer with all the variants and the collectibles and whatever, nobody has to buy 4 copies of a Taylor Swift album. If you want to buy one, go ahead. She's not making people spend that. If you disapprove of her general sense that capitalism is okay, and if your fans have money and want to give it to you, you should sell things. Okay, I have mixed feelings. If you think there shouldn't be billionaires, I agree with you. Evidently, Taylor doesn't mind being one. And wherever her politics are, they are, to the right of me and Elizabeth Warren and AOC, because she thinks it's okay that there are billionaires. If we're going to do something about the fact that we have a Gestapo now, we have an authoritarian system and these terrible people, we do need to be able to work with people whose politics are kind of centrist, right? I would happily do an event with the people who run the Bulwark, whose politics, I don't know if you read that, but whose politics are to the right of Taylor Swift. I think in terms of where we are politically, I'm okay working with someone who is a billionaire, even though I agree that there should not be billionaires. And I don't think she's exploiting people or defrauding them or making them buy anything or monopolizing anything. She made all that money, honestly, by giving people things that they actually want. And setting for many other artists examples of, hey, it's a good idea to take control as much as you can of the business side of your art as much as you can. And if you're really punk rock, you could have learned that from Fugazi. But most of her fans are not really punk rock. Like, I'm not. And, Fugazi are fine. So that's one answer. Another answer, within her art, like why doesn't she sing political songs the way she did on Lover, is that she's not terribly good at it unless inspiration hits. You're not obligated as a songwriter to write songs about authoritarianism just because we are fighting it, any more than you are obligated to write songs about anything else that is a large problem that many of us have to face. You don't have to write songs about car culture and internal combustion engines. You don't have to write songs about vaccination rates. You don't have to write songs about the carnage in Sudan and Central Africa. It's a good idea as a citizen to be aware of those things, but if that's not where your songwriting is, don't. I do want to hear more songs about the people who are getting picked up off the street by masked goons and deported. But I don't know that I want to hear them from Taylor. Like, I don't know that that's her gift. So as an artist, she's doing exactly what she should be doing. As a person, do I wish that she would do what she used to do a few years ago and do press conferences where she's like, hey, let's not have a Gestapo, vote for Democrats? Yeah, I wish she would. I think I see why she doesn't. For one thing, she thinks it didn't work. And there's good evidence that celebrity endorsements in high-profile races do not work because the backlash roughly equals the number of people who are moved to vote. What does work from celebrities is writing checks, reminding your fans to register, and endorsements in low-profile races. Like, I don't know, Nashville City Council. So why isn't she doing those things? Well, again, I think she's burned out. And she's really busy. And it's sort of not on her, it's on us. And I also think we need to remember that she is going to marry a guy who's really nice to her, who seems pretty apolitical, talented entertainer, nice guy, not exactly Paul Krugman, or name your own opinion columnist who has a brain. And that guy, who is still an active NFL player in concussion ball, has to go out on the field every weekend, as long as he's active, and work with very, very closely with people, some of whom are Trump fans. And if those people decide that he's chosen his wife over them, right? If his teammates, if Travis's teammates are like, what is up with your girl? Travis could die, right? I don't know that I think there should be NFL football at all. I also don't think there should be billionaires. I'm okay with capitalism in some form, and I'm a basketball fan. But that's me, that's not Taylor. She is marrying a guy whose actual life depends every Sunday on being able to completely trust Trump fans on the field and have the Trump fans trust him. And I think that's probably the big reason why she isn't doing press conferences saying the Gestapo is bad. I hope when Travis retires that Taylor goes back to doing that. But that's why I'm not more disappointed in her. I hope that helps you in your fandom. One or two more questions? Yeah, hi.
Hi, a comment and a question, which I know no one loves. The comment is, I'm glad that you wrote the book that I was trying to read. I wanted to read something that was a lot of close reading and intertextuality, and I read several other books about Taylor that are not really that.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. And the actual question is maybe beyond the scope of your book in this work, but I was wondering how things change as a fan and as a listener when you are listening on your own, perhaps, versus when you are active in the fandom and you are chronically online and you are also hearing the opinion of those around you. And I ask this question because I reflect on my own personal experience of like age 18 to 30 or so, listening to her on my own, and in the past several years being more active in the fandom and just thinking about how that changes how I see and relate and reflect on music.
I love that question. And I think about that too. I think about it not just with regard to Taylor, but with regard to the other fandoms that I'm in. And to fan studies, which is an academic thing that I occasionally do. Do you know about a novelist named Zan Romanoff? Let's see if we got that book. It's a novel called Grace of the Fever, and it is a novel about answering that question, in effect, although she changes the names, in 1D fandom, in One Direction fandom. You know it. Good, okay. Do you have it here? It's by Zan Romanoff. Yeah, Belinda Lowe, we like her art. Nope, okay. So, being active in fandom changes your relationship to works of art in a number of different ways, depending on what art it is, how big the fandom is, where you are in the fandom, whether you feel like you're responsible for other people's reactions, whether you feel like you're responsible for keeping the fandom together because you run the message boards, you run the events, you run the meetups, whether you get drawn into online controversies or not, which not all of us do. It can change your relationship to a work in a lot of ways. And occasionally people just burn out. They just stop liking or engaging with the work because they're so burned out by the fandom. And I've seen that happen to Swifties. And I don't think that's something Taylor would want. It's certainly not something I would want. But that can happen. Ideally, you would just learn more about the work from other people who are into it and enjoy finding people to talk about it forever with, and you might actually turn out to have a lot more in common with these people who you would not have otherwise met because they're in a different place or their demographic isn't your demographic otherwise, and you like make best friends through it. Or romantic partners, or distant acquaintances you see when you happen to be in Seattle. My favorite thing about fandom, and I'm not the first person to say this, is that it connects you not to the artist you're into or the work that you're into, but to other people who are into that thing. And I had seen that work in much smaller fandoms. I have friends who got married because they were both writing Steven Universe fanfic. That's how they met. Do I know other couples who just met through fandom in that way? Yes, I do. I've been in X-Men fandom for quite a while. And it has its own characteristics. Every fandom has its own characteristics. And what I value about fan culture is the connection that we make horizontally to one another through it. And if it's working, it doesn't burn you out on the artist who's the reason you're there. Thank you for coming. Should I encourage you to pick up the book before you leave? Or?
Yes.
Okay, I'm encouraging you to pick up the book before you leave.
I will be back. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, yeah. So I do write about that in the book, and I write about how Swiftie world is different because it's so much bigger, and because it's so relatively normie. Like the people I know because they're X-Men fans or because they're fans of the weird indie bands that I like are used to being in medium-sized rooms where everybody's into the same weird thing. A lot of Swifties don't have other experience of fandoms. or if they do, they feel like they outgrew it. So you have, and there are also just so many people, it's so big. So you just have a lot of people where this is their first or their only experience of reaching out to lots of other people in other countries, in other generations, with other life experiences. So I think fandom is great. I think the Swiftie world is great. It can also distort your experience. And I don't know if that's a good answer or not, but thank you for asking.
No, that's a great answer.
Okay. We should let people eat food and buy books.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we'll do that, and you can still converse with
Yeah.
Stephanie, and
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you for being
Thank
here.
you, Stephanie. Thank you. I just wanted to mention one final thing for people, something that's important to all small businesses and independent bookstores, and as well. I was just in Washington 2 weeks ago for the American Booksellers Association, lobbying for a bipartisan bill called the Credit Card Reform Act. And if you're so incentivized, if you feel like it, if you would like to talk to your congressperson or senators, send an email. This is such an important bill. In America, we pay the highest credit card fees in the world. And so this would, and Europe and UK, there's a cap. This bill doesn't even put a cap. It's not even trying to say to the big banks, you must do this. It simply says that they must allow competition. And by doing that, then there will be better fees. They already did this 10 years ago with debit cards, and it's helped enormously. So again, I hope if you feel like you're moved to do that, this would help all small businesses, because all businesses have to pay this if you pay with a credit card. And that's why you probably see in some businesses where they say like a minimum $10 charge. It's because every time you pay with a credit card, which is fine to pay in most stores and fine to pay here as well, but just so you know, there's a transaction fee plus a percentage. So that means that, like if you bought a pack of gum somewhere, a lot of times the transaction fee could be more than that pack of gum. But in Europe, you can do that because they have very low fees. Anyway, last commercial. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you.